this particular day where we have the Indonesia-Africa Youth Friendship event in support of the G20 Indonesia 2022 Presidency. So under the theme, Youth Creativity in Harmony. My name is Ndibuho Chikobi, and I will be your program director for the day. And I'm really looking forward to being with you guys the whole day. Well, not the whole day, but 2 hours of the program. So I'm really excited to be part of this program, and I'm looking forward to the engagements that we're going to have. It's going to be really fully packed 2 hours of the program. This program, of course, is brought to you by a partnership between the African Union Youth Envoy and also the South African Youth for International Diplomacy, as well as the Overseas Indonesian Student Association Alliance. So we came together and we thought we should bring you a program that highlights what Africa and Indonesia has been doing in the past years, as well as what is coming in the Y20 and G20 presidency of the Indonesian presidency. So we just watched the first G20 theme song made by the Indonesian G20 presidency team with the title Recover Together, Recover Stronger. This title is exactly the same as the main theme of the G20 Indonesia 2022. So if you can already see from the message that we're trying to bring back the world from what has been happening, which is the pandemic and everything else that has been happening. So we're trying to rebuild together and recover together. And that's what the G20 presidency in Indonesia is trying to do. So today, as I've already said, we are going to be together for 2 hours. My name is Ndibuho Chikobi. Again, I'm from South Africa, and I will be part of this program for 2 hours with you guys. And we have some interactive activities planned for you guys. Of course, we also have speakers from the African Union Youth Envoy, the current chair, who just joined us. Thank you very much, madam. And then we have, of course, South African Youth for International Diplomacy chair, who will also be part of the speakers. And then we, of course, have our friends from the Overseas Indonesian Student Association Alliance, together with the G20 Indonesian Sherpa's office, and of course the keynote speech by the Indonesian Ambassador for Ethiopia, Djibouti, and the African Union. And of course, not forgetting some performances and song to keep you entertained that will come in a second from now. And later on, we'll have a talk show moderated by my colleague, Gracia. So we have a couple of things planned for you guys today to keep you entertained and also at the same time keep you engaged. So before going any further, we have some house rules that we like for you guys to adhere to throughout the 2 hours that we have together. I'm gonna post and see if I can post the house rules on the chart so that we have a smooth program. We don't have people talking on top of each other, or we don't have things playing instead of listening to each other. So that's what I'm going to do now in a second, if I can do that. And if you can see the house rules, please raise a thumb or something so that I can know that we are on par with each other. Perfect. So before I go any further, thank you very much for everyone who's here, especially our speakers and the participants. Of course, we have a couple of people who have already joined us. We're anticipating at least 70 people to 100 or so as per our registry. And for now, we are going to have the first item of the program, which is basically a performance by a South African youth choir group called the Ndlovu Choir. This aspect will try to showcase some of Africa's talent. And the Ndlovu Choir is an esteemed African youth choir, and since their inception in 2009, they have become one of the world's most renowned groups or youth choirs in the world. And it's because of their unique musical arrangement, which is basically their powerhouse vocals combined with the mesmerizing choreography, and their energy have inspired millions across the globe. And this music video that you're about to watch was actually shot in Cape Town in South Africa, which is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, I should say, because of South Africa. It's a little bit biased, but that's true. If you get time, do visit. And what you're gonna see here is like one of the the most famous landmark in Cape Town, which is the Table Mountain. So it's a whole mountain that has like a table look and all that. And also the Robben Island, which is the place where the South African president, Nelson Mandela, the first democratic president, Nelson Mandela, was imprisoned for about 18 years. Well, he spent 27 years in prison, but some of them were in Portsmouth or some other prisons. But 18 years was spent in Robben Island. So it's some of the background that you're going to see on the video. And this video really, really captures the raw talent and creativity of African youth. And without wasting much time, enjoy everyone. And I'll be with you on the other side. Wasn't that beautiful? I'm sure you all have an idea of what the African continent can bring to the world. So that was really beautiful rendition of Shallow, which most of you probably already know, by Lady Gaga, and it's done in the South African version. So it's a really beautiful song. And thank you very much for all of those who have joined us. We're really happy to have you here. For those who are wondering what will happen to the Indonesian aspect of the cultural aspect that we just showed you, don't worry, it's coming your way. So just hang tight, be there, you will see the Indonesian aspect as well a little bit later on. Before I waste much time, because we have to try and be done within 2 hours, I will give you two welcoming remarks. So we have two welcoming remarks that are coming up, and the first one will be from the Overseas Indonesian Student Association Alliance. It's gonna be by Mr. Farouk, and then after that we're gonna have another remark by Mrs. Chido, who is the African Union Youth Envoy, and it's gonna come in a second from now. So now the screen is yours, Mr. Farouk, and then after that, I'll come back and give Chido. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, the Fuho. Today, distinguished Indonesian Ambassador for Ethiopia and African Union, Djibouti, and also as a keynote speaker, His Excellency Mr. Albusa Basnur, and Dr. Edi Priyoprambudi, Co-Sherpa G20 Indonesia 2022, our friend from African Union Youth Envoy, Sido Pembe, also the inspiring speaker on this event, my colleague Anthony Sunjaya from Australia, and also Hannah Hopper from SAYID representative. Last but not least, my colleague as a moderator, Gracia Paramita, and also all the committee. I really appreciate everything that you do on the initiation on this event like this. You and team are doing great. Ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely pleased to speak on this event, Indonesia-Africa Youth Friendship. The collaboration between Overseas Indonesian Student Association Alliance, or OISA, and the African Union Youth and South African Youth for International Diplomacy, or SAYID, in supporting the G20 Indonesia 2022 Presidency. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer of this meeting for inviting me here today. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. And first of all, let me thank you all for coming here today. Let me introduce myself. I'm a Farouk Ibnul Haki, coordinator of Overseas Indonesian Student Association Alliance, or many people are very familiar with the PPI Dunia in Indonesian language. I come from PPI Australia, and I'm PhD candidate in urban and regional planning. Today, I'm very happy to come in this great event and want to give a short speech about the G20 Indonesia Presidency. The G20 is multilateral forum bringing together 19 of the world's major economy and the European Union, and its member account for more than 60% of the world population. The member includes Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, and the United Kingdom, and the others, and the European Union. We are, as an Indonesian scholar who study overseas, is a honor Indonesia to be trusted as the G20 presidency and give the country for the first time. This is the first time for Indonesia as a developing country is trust to assume the G20 presidency. Of course, this is the Indonesian history. We are very proud on this opportunity to show the world that we, Indonesia, is able to give a greater contribution to the world economic recovery and a healthier and equitable governance development. As we know that the theme of the G20 Indonesian presidency is recover together, recover stronger. Indonesia raised 3 priority issues: inclusive healthcare, digital transformation, and sustainable energy transition. The G20 plays an important role in other international issues, including trade, climate change, and development. So through this theme, Indonesia invites the whole world to work together, recover together, grow stronger, and sustainably together. Hopefully, through this event, we can show our collaboration to work together, especially on the issue of Indonesia-Africa development. So I believe in the future, when we Indonesian and Africa countries work together, especially in the economic field, so that the nation of Indonesia and Africa are equal to other nations. Thank you very much, and salam perhimpunan, salam cendekia apik.
Thank you very much, Mr. Farouk. Whatever you said on the last part, I agree with you. And then the second element of these opening remarks will be shared by Ms. Chido. I think Chido is already here. And I will, without wasting much time, give the screen to Chido.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for having me. Good day, and I would like to thank and acknowledge the Overseas Indonesian Student Association Alliance in partnership with the South Africa Youth for International Diplomacy for this Indonesia-Africa Youth Friendship webinar. This initiative is key to the progression of young people and for the creation of intercultural dialogue amongst the youth. The youth can only thrive by working together, especially across communities and continents. Strong connections, partnerships, and alliances have to be formed for the empowerment of the youth. It is interesting to note that young people make up a significant portion of the G20 countries' populations, and that Africa is positioned as the second largest youth population in the world after Asia. Therefore, this Indonesia-Africa Youth Friendship Initiative could not have become at a better time. Young people will become a formidable force in the world through strategic partnerships, such as this one of Asia and Africa. If young people currently make up the majority of the world, then it means that the majority should automatically have more of a voice and an impact. But as long as they are not included in decision-making processes, then this will not be their reality. On the social and digital front, the youth are the forerunners and the biggest advocates for change. I am delighted that this event will strengthen the inclusive collaboration between the G20 Indonesia Presidency 2022 with young generations around the world. The youth are bursting with ideas, vibrant, and seek to form partnerships and friendships and desire to make change in their communities today. Such events and webinars will put young people in a position of preparation for the G20 Heads of State and Government Summit, which will take place in October 2022 in Bali, Indonesia, under the Indonesian presidency. Inclusion, participation, and involvement of young people in high-level decision-making processes and platforms will be beneficial to economies and communities across the world. Thank you very much, and I look forward to this webinar today.
Thank you very much, Chido, and we really appreciate your presence. If it was a normal platform, we will be clapping hands, so I'm sure some of you will clap with me. It was a really profound speech, and you did mention that the youth are the keys, and more so, I was just reading the stats that Africa and Indonesia, actually, we have the majority of youth actually in our continent. So Africa, Asia being the first, and then Africa the second. So we do need to get more collaborations and work with each other to figure out some solutions to our current problems so that things can be better going forward. So thank you very much, Chido, and we look forward to engaging with your office more in the future. Now, going further with our program, of course, we try to keep into these 2 hours that we have with you. Will be the ambassador's keynote speech. We're really excited to have Ambassador L here, who have graciously joined us today in the morning or in the afternoon or wherever he is in Ethiopia, so he's probably in the afternoon there. Or morning. And then just to give you a little background about Ambassador Al. Ambassador Al was born, of course, in Payakumbuh in Indonesia, and he received his bachelor's degree in international law from the University of Andalus, and he pursued his master's degree in international law from the University of Santos Thomas in Manila, Philippines. And then he was very active in various student youth organizations, hence his passion for youth actually. In 1984 and 1985, he was the participant of the Indonesia-Canada Youth Exchange Program. And in 1986 and 1987, he was group leader of Indonesia-Canada Youth Exchange Program. Ambassador Al is a career diplomat. He joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia in 1987. Wow, some of us were not even born by that time. He has served in various positions as follows. For an example, the ambassador of Indonesia to Ethiopia, Djibouti, and African Union from 2019 to present. And he has been the Secretary for Directorate General of Information and Public Diplomacy, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia 2018 to 2019, as well as being the Director for Public Diplomacy in Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Indonesia 2013 to 2018, as well as Consul General of Indonesia in Houston in the USA, with full jurisdiction on 10 USA federal states, namely Texas, New Mexico, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Kansas, Oklahoma, and the 2 United States self-governing Commonwealth, namely as the US, Virgin Island, and Puerto Rico. And he was also the deputy to the special staff on the President's Indonesia for International Affairs, 2005 to 2010. And again, he was head of the Information and Cultural Affairs Division in the Embassy of Indonesia in Rome, 1999 to 2004. And of course, staff of Information Division, Embassy of Indonesia in Manila, Philippines, where he studied in 1993 and 1996. And of course, he's a writer. He just showed us one of his books that he wrote about Ethiopia. Hopefully some of you will get hold of it, and then you can understand how a diplomatic perspective is when it comes to in Africa or Indonesia from an Indonesian, Ethiopia from an Indonesian perspective. And in 2009, he received an award given by the State Minister of Culture and Tourism of Ethiopia for his contribution to diplomacy. And of course, in 2020, he also received an award from the Safe Light and Prominent Ethiopian Youth Organization for his contribution for Ethiopia and Indonesian youth. And thank you very much, Ambassador, for being here. And we're looking forward to hearing your insights from your profile. It's already going to be interesting. The screen is yours, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, my dear friend, Difuo. Well, my good friend, Honorable Dr. Edi Priyo Pambudi, G20 Co-Sherpa, Mr. Farouk Ibnul Haki, Coordinator of Overseas Indonesian Student Association Alliance, PPI Dunia, Ms. Chido Pembe, Representative of African Union Youth, Mr. Anthony, Ms. Gita, Ms. Hana, and good friend of mine, Ms. Gracia Paramita, my dear Indonesian and African young friends. Selamat sore, waktu Jakarta. Good morning from Addis Ababa. First of all, thank you, my young friends in the Overseas Indonesian Student Association Alliance, African Union Youth, South African Youth for International Diplomacy, and my good friend Ms. Gracia for inviting me to this very important forum, Indonesia-Africa Youth Friendship. At least, there are three reasons why I'm here and why I'm very excited to meet you all today virtually through this very important forum. First, I can meet my young Indonesian and African friends and friends from the other part of the world in one particular forum. Second, since the outbreak of the pandemic, COVID-19, I postponed so many agenda, especially meeting forums with great African, especially Ethiopian and Indonesian young generation. And now is the time to raise again and together again in an intercontinental forum. And third, this forum is very important for you, for me, and for all of us. Indonesia and Africa young friendship connects people, young generation, the future leaders of the world. And it also widened and strengthened relation between Indonesia and African countries through the role of young generations. Dear young friends, let me briefly explain about myself, which is already explained by our friend Ndifuho. Thus you can understand why I have such a great passion for the development and advancement of youth around the world. As a career diplomat, already mentioned in my CV just now, I was in the Philippines, I was in Italy, I was in the United States as a Consul General of Indonesia in Houston. In each of those countries, I have always built excellent relations and cooperation with the students, with youth. Why? First, because I always work at the division related to students and youth affairs. Second, in diplomacy, especially public diplomacy, youth play a very important role for the success of relation and cooperation between countries and nations. I serve as a director of public diplomacy at the Indonesian Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Jakarta for a long time before my assignment here as Ambassador of Indonesia in Addis Ababa. I found that 70% of the success of public diplomacy is determined by youth and other non-government actors. Third, since studying in secondary school at university, I have been active in various youth organizations. I even started working as journalist when I was just 17 years old, 17, while also studying at school and university. I participated also in various international youth exchange programs, mentioned already in my CV, among others with Canada 2 times as a participant of Indonesia-Canada Youth Exchange Programs and many others. And therefore, I'm very happy to see you all today. Youth, the backbone of the development of our nation and the world. My dear young friends, I would like to bring your attention to 4 important points today. First, relations between Indonesia and African countries have established for a long time. The historical ASEAN-African Conference held on 18 up to 24 April 1955 in Bandung, Indonesia, also known as Bandung Conference, is one of important milestones in our relations. That conference attended by 29 countries, some of them from African continent, namely Ethiopia, Sudan, Egypt, Libya, Liberia, and Gold Coast. 1 year after the Asia-African Conference, on 13th May to 7th June 1956, an African ASEAN Student Conference was also held and attended by youth from 28 ASEAN and African countries. The conference showed that the young generation of Indonesia and African countries have the same spirit and views on the importance of togetherness in advancing the nation and the world. Second, togetherness, friendship, cooperation among the people, especially Indonesian and African youth, needs to be continually fostered and developed in order to strengthen bilateral, regional, and multilateral relations. We have done it well. We have a scholarship program, we have a technical cooperation, youth exchange program, and many others. Those programs are part of public diplomacy. However, there are still a lot of potential collaboration that we need to explore. Still, we have a lot of work to do together for our countries, for our nation, for our global world. Besides, there are still many problems we must overcome together, especially in economy, education, human security, and other social issues. Indonesia and Africa always go hand in hand in good and bad times. Indonesia and Africa always want to move forward together. No one should be left behind. Indonesia and Africa want to establish better and stronger economic cooperation so that our nation can live together in a healthy and prosperous condition. For this reason, among others, Indonesia held Indonesia-Africa Forum in 2018 and Indonesia-Africa Infrastructure Dialogue in 2019. Two forums focus on economic cooperation between Indonesia and Africa. In the future, there will be many more cooperation and collaboration agenda that will be held by Indonesia and African countries. Third, since I started my assignment here in Ethiopia, I realized more about the important role of non-government actors in diplomacy. In general, and in short, again, the success of Indonesian Embassy in Addis Ababa in its missions, particularly in public diplomacy, is because 70% of our diplomacy carried out by non-government actors. Among others are youth, students. And during my first 9 months in Ethiopia, in 2019, I organized at least 74 activities, which mostly involve youth, young generation. I have collaborated with youth from Indonesia and Ethiopia to organize various programs, among others, the establishment of Indonesia-Ethiopia Youth Association, Indonesia-Ethiopia Young Entrepreneurs Forum, Indonesia-Ethiopia Youth Talk, Listen to the Voice of Youth, and International Indonesia-Ethiopia Student Correspondence Programs. What next? Indonesia-Ethiopia Students and Youth Exchange. Fourth, as we all know, my dear friends, this year, 2022, Indonesia is president of G20. All eyes turned to Indonesia, including people from Africa. I believe Indonesia's presidency at the G20 this year will certainly have positive impacts on the relation between Indonesia and Africa, especially in the economic relations. I'm sure my young friends, especially the speakers in this forum, will discuss thoroughly about G20, about Indonesia, and about the role of youth for the success of G20, especially under the presidency of Indonesia. Therefore, once again, I express my high appreciation to the organizer and participants of Indonesia-Africa Youth Friendship. Finally, I hope you will keep sharing each other, learning from each other, building bonds of friendship and togetherness that will enrich your lives enrich our world for decades to come. An African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Thank you very much and have a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Ambassador Al. That was really, really profound. I think your speech resonates with every young person who's part of this forum. We couldn't have asked for a better keynote speaker, actually. I think we really appreciate that. You touched almost all aspects of the youth life and how they should participate in the diplomacy, and that's what we as the young organizations have tried to do here in this forum. And we really appreciate your insights, and we are definitely going to knock more in your door to keep working with you going forward. So expect us in the future, Ambassador L. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and now we are going to another section of the program, which is going to be handled by my colleague Gracia. It's a talk show of some sort that we have organized for you guys to see, and there will be different speakers, and Gracia will tell you more about it. So without wasting much more time, Gracia, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Difuho. I hope you guys can hear me clearly. And again, welcome. Hello in Indonesia means hello. And selamat datang, welcome. It's very nice to have different or diverse African and Indonesian youth. And we just heard a very insightful speech from Ambassador Al. As you have, you're very familiar now. He's very passionate on youth issues, and I'm sure we can have more interactive session in this talk show. But before I invite two speakers, allow me to share the biography of two speakers today. So they are Anthony and Hannah. The first speaker is Anthony. So Dr. Anthony Sunjaya is currently Vice Director of Research and Policy at the Overseas Indonesia Student Association Alliance, or PPI Dunia, and Scientia Doctoral Researcher based at the George Institute for Global Health, Sydney, Australia. His research focuses on heart disease, lung disease, digital health, and primary care. He's currently chair of the research committee at the UNSW Postgraduate Council and co-lead for digital health at the UNSW ASEAN Business Research Hub. He is an alumnus of Harvard Medical School's Foundations of Clinical Research Program and is a fellow of the Royal Society of Public Health. Hi, Anthony. I think we should spotlight Anthony as well.
Lovely to be here.
How are you today? I hope you are doing well.
Thank you.
Great.
You too.
The second speaker, Hannah. Hannah Hopper is the co-chair of SAYID, South African Youth for International Diplomacy. She is a passionate advocate for sustainable development with a particular focus on youth education and food systems. She is currently pursuing a postgraduate diploma in sustainable development through the Sustainability Institute in Stellenbosch, South Africa. Hannah works as a sustainability consultant with the agriculture sector, working to improve the environmental impacts within the industry and communicate the importance of regeneration agriculture. Hannah has also been chosen as the head of education for the Commonwealth Youth Council in the African and European region. She runs a nonprofit sustainability youth education program, which focuses on empowering young people to become change agents in their own right. Hannah represented South Africa at the 2020 Club of Rome Youth Summit as a moderator for discussions on reframing economics and was chosen as the South African delegate in the Y20 Summit 2021 last year in the track of sustainability, climate change, and environment. Please welcome Hannah. Hi, Hannah.
Hello, everyone. It is such an honor to be here with all of you today. Thank you.
Great. Okay, I think we've just heard so many speeches, right, at the beginning. Maybe we can have something different this time. And I already prepared a kind of like interactive game. So basically, this is called the cultural wheel. I will share my screen right now so you guys can see what kind of game will it be. Just give me some seconds. Okay, I think you should have seen it right now. So this is called the Indonesia-Africa Culture of Wheel, and there will be 5 points or 5 words that we can share together from Indonesian side and African side. So basically, this is the instruction. I will spin around the wheel once, and then we can have a look which point or which part that we can stop. And then I ask each of the speakers, Anthony and Hannah, to say it, like to answer it. For example, if we can see it right now, food, then Anthony should say something about Indonesian food, spicy food or sweet food, anything that you like. And then Hannah can also say something about African food. And if you guys have more answers, feel free to write on the chat box. So everybody can join right now and you guys can participate. So I hope this can be, more cheerful and we can learn each other from Indonesia and Africa. Okay, let's start for the first spin. Let's see how it stops. I think it will stop in dance. Yes, I guess. All right, yeah. Now we talk about dance. So Anthony, start from you. What kind of Indonesian dance that you like or you know about?
I think what I'll be sharing is about the Saman dance. I think some of you might have heard of it. It's a traditional dance from Aceh.
Nice.
And it's actually something that's easy to learn. We often see it, I think, in many events overseas as well. And also importantly,
clap, right?
Yes,
so many
a lot of claps. I think we can all maybe learn it in the end of the session today. And importantly, it's been recognized as an intangible cultural heritage by UNESCO as well. So it's a global, I would say, heritage that we all need to learn and I think share around.
Cool, great. Now go to Hannah. Thanks, Anthony. Now we're talking about African dance. Mention 1 or 2. Hannah.
Thank you, Anthony, for sharing that. And I'd love to see what that looks like in real life at some point. So South Africa is extremely diverse and we have so many different kinds of dance, but it's mostly influenced by different kinds of music from different cultural groups. So I'd like to just name some of the music that we dance to. And so that's Marabi, Kwaito, Gom, Amapiano, African gospel, South African jazz, and Afrikaans country music. So they're all extremely different and they all have different kinds of beats. But yeah, that really influences the kind of dancing that we have. And it's a nice blend between all cultures.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Maybe Hannah, after this, you can also write down the name of that dance so everybody can learn about it or at least know about the name. And again, guys, you can also write down your favorite dance from wherever you are, or even from your own hometown, perhaps. That will be awesome as well. So we will eliminate this word, and then we go for one more round. Okay, second spin. Sounds like it will stop in language. Yes, language. This is exciting because this is something very easy, that we can also practice directly. So now I switch to Hannah first. Hannah, teach us how we say, how are you in African language?
It's very hard for me to say that because in South Africa, we have 53 languages that are indigenous to the country. And we have 12 official languages, which include, I've got the list here of them: Indebele, Pedi, Sotho, Swati, Tsonga, Tswana, Venda, Xhosa, Zulu, Afrikaans, and English. Unfortunately, I only speak English and Afrikaans. I would love to learn all the languages, but that's going to take a lot of time.
That's fine. Maybe you can share just some words in African so that we can also practice it directly or just say it.
Okay, I can say Goeiemorgen, Gracia and Anthony. Goeiemorgen is good morning because it's morning in South Africa now.
Goeiemorgen. Thank you. Thank you, Hannah. And then Anthony, I think you also have a lot of notes about languages, right? We also have diverse language in Indonesia, so just share some of them.
Sure. I mean, likewise, I think with Hannah, Indonesia has over 700 local languages. So it's impossible, I think, for someone to know all of it. But maybe I'll stick to our official language, which is Bahasa Indonesia. And I think like Hannah, I'll say, Selamat pagi, which means good morning as well. And for us at the society, we like to say Salam 24 jam, or a wish regarding it, the 24/7. I would say greetings for 24 hours, I guess, for all time zones, as we are all from very different places. So that's from me.
Great. Thank you, Anthony. So yeah, we can also say Selamat pagi, or just say pagi as in like morning in Indonesian language. So thank you guys. We will have another game later on. Now I will give the floor to Anthony first to share about his presentation. Please, Anthony, the screen is yours.
Thanks, Gracia. I'll just share my screen. And just in brief, I guess I'll be showing a few slides because I believe that sometimes a picture speaks 1,000 words. So indeed, I'll be talking as I go regarding some of the work that we have been doing before G20, but also hopefully now with Indonesia's presidency in supporting the priority areas. I hope everyone can see my slide. I'll just move forward. And essentially, if you see the map on the right-hand side, those are the chapters where the society is based at. So in brief, I guess some might inquire, especially if you're not from Indonesia, what's the Overseas Indonesian Students Association Alliance, or often called PPI Dunia. So it's a society that's inspired actually by Perhimpunan Indonesia, or Indonesia Vereniging in Dutch, formed in 1922, and importantly was led by one of our founders of the nation, Muhammad Hatta, Indonesia's first vice president. We are divided into 3 regions, and we are also based in 60 countries. And importantly, with regards to G20, in 18 out of the 20 G20 members, as shown on your screen. So we're based in Australia, China, India, Japan, Korea, South Africa as well. Where you're from, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, US, Canada, UK, Germany, in Russia, and many countries in Europe. So I think there is an important role that we play in a sort of way in which to share but also learn from these G20 member states, which is not available in many other associations. And our focus as a society has been, I think, in Indonesia's demographic bonus, as well as Indonesia's vision for 2045, which will be the centennial of our independence, where, as you can see in this graph from the IMF, Indonesia will have one of the highest prevalence or proportion of working adults, similar to those in Africa as well, as mentioned earlier by Ambassador Al. So we stand to benefit from this, but only if we work together and only if we can develop our human capital well. And that's where we feel as a society we can contribute to. Indonesia is certainly strategic, as you can see on the right-hand side. We are part of G20, but also part of ASEAN, where we play a very important role diplomatically as well, and economically, and also APEC. Last year, as you can see from this picture, it's just an overview of what we did. So working with the students from over 60 countries, as mentioned earlier, we wrote 12 books. So it was a very big project over a year. We wrote 12 full books across all the main indicators of SDGs, sharing a sort of ideas and roadmap on how Indonesia might achieve it, and also go more, achieving ideally a status as a developed country by 2045 during our centennial. Please feel free, if you're Indonesian especially. Unfortunately, there's no English version yet, but this year we're writing it in English, another series on COVID recovery, which I hope you all can also enjoy. So this year in 2022, under the leadership of Mr. Farouk, which you've heard earlier, we are focused on being driven by SDGs as well, but also on the recovery from COVID-19 under the banner of APIC, or Adaptive, Progressive, Inclusive, and Collaborative, working to talk about the important issues under research and policy, but also sharing about education, youth empowerment through our overseas festival, community services, including during the recent eruption of one of the mountains in Asia, sharing news, but also writing partnerships, including the Indonesian Global Talent Internship, I'll share a bit later, and developing human resources. Indonesia's G20, I think, presidency has been touched upon a lot earlier under Recover Together, Recover Stronger. And herein I'll share a bit on our work before and now regarding these three priority areas. The first is in the global health architecture, vaccination, global health. I mean, certainly it's close to my heart, being my research as well, but importantly also for the association. I think we can, I would say that COVID has not impacted us in one way or another. Last year, for example, we did have the convening power, I must say, as an association to bring together experts, even when vaccination has just started. So in February, we ran an event together, supported by the Ministry of Health as well, the technical advisory group, and also invited other experts to share regarding the latest issues in vaccination. Followed by also in middle, as you can see in May, talking more on progressing vaccination, but also thinking about opening up, as we believe as well as an association that health and economics go hand in hand. And it's also important to focus on that. And also talk about, I think, similar to this year's global health architecture goal, talking about strengthening, about resilience of health systems on the right. And also, again, we're fortunate to have the former Minister for Health and also Minister for Health for Indonesia to talk about this last year. On digital transformation, we are very focused on empowering youth. This year, we work with the Ministry of State and Enterprises, working on a variety of fields, but importantly, on some issues which you can see here, maybe you can read some very common words in English, but also in Indonesian, blockchain, artificial intelligence, green energy, bioinformatics. So working with them to advance this, but also talking about cybersecurity, working with partners to advance, I would say, support people learning digital marketing, and also mobile labs, and also providing, I think, for digital transformation, the necessary infrastructure, which is energy and internet, to our partnerships with local governments. For sustainable energy transition, we have done a lot of, I would say, activities, including providing solar panels to some of the very most remote areas in Indonesia last year, but also talking in forums with the Ministry of Energy, providing opinion pieces, some of which are on the screen, but many more, which you can certainly search as well. And contributing overall to the strategy for a sustainable energy transition towards net zero for Indonesia. We have also submitted policy papers to Think 20, another engagement arm, which maybe some of you might be aware of, in energy, in e-money, or future finance, and also in health. And that's all from me in brief, and happy to discuss later in the interactive session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks so much for the presentation. So let's have more insights from African girl, African lady, Hannah. I know you're now the co-chair of the SAYID. So I'm wondering to know more about the organization, and maybe you can start from how and what has SAYID done with the African youth, specifically the South African youth.
Thank you, Gracia, for the question. And Anthony, just want to say you guys are doing really amazing work, and yeah, it's very, very inspiring. So thank you for sharing. So the South African Youth for International Diplomacy, or SAYID, was established in 2009 as the official South African organizing committee for the Y8 and Y20 summits. It was established through Project 23 in association with the International Diplomatic Engagement Association, or IDEA, which is a collection of 20 leading nonprofit youth-led organizations from around the world that are committed to putting youth at the heart of global decision-making through innovative, open, and inspiring debates. Through our efforts, a number of young South African delegates have participated in these youth summits in Paris, Mexico, the United States of America, Russia, United Kingdom, Australia, Turkey, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and of course last year in Italy. As a result of these negotiations, 5 African Union youth delegates also attended the Y8 London Summit, held in June 2013, and also the Y7 United Kingdom 2021 Summit. With further need for global youth voices, SAYID has also participated by organizing the first ever Euro-BRICS youth-led summit in 2015, whereby 12 South African youth represented the country with excellence in Finland, hosted by LEAP. In 2015, SAYID, together with the National Youth Development Agency and the Deputy Minister of Presidency, delegated 34 youth to the first ever BRICS Youth Summit in Russia in 2015, and again 5 youth to BRICS Youth Summits in India in 2016. SAYID annually organizes model Y20 events with a platform to identify and train potential delegates for upcoming summits. And that is most of the work that we have been doing so far. My apologies if you hear background noise, as I live right next to a train station.
Very nice sharing, Hannah. And I'm wondering how SAYID engage the African youth outside South Africa. Like maybe you've done projects or you have any initiatives to invite more African youths.
Thank you. That's a really good question, because sadly, South Africa is the only African country out of 54 that is a part of the G20. So yeah, this is quite a devastating reality, because we're an entire continent, of course, but it's not uncommon. Africa is very often neglected from these large global decision-making platforms. And so at SAYID, we, in our own capacity, really encourage all of our South African delegates to keep this in mind. And when they represent or go to the Y20 summits and these other global events, we encourage them to not only represent the voices and perspectives and concerns of South African youth, but of African youth entirely. Because although this is quite a large burden to carry, to represent 54 different countries, right? It's one that we believe to be really important to ensure that our continent is not left behind. And that is also why we decided to call this event the African Indonesian Dialogue, as opposed to just the South African Indonesian Dialogue.
Great. And why cultural creativity needs to be encouraged by youth? Like why young people has to, empower themselves by their creativity, their cultures. So what's your thought on that?
Thank you. I think I will address this question in two parts, so focusing on culture and then creativity. So in South Africa, just like many African countries, we have immense cultural diversity, as we learned from the game that we played, right? So we have 35 official languages, indigenous languages, and 12 official languages. As a result, however, of colonization, much of the richness of our cultural identity and expression in our country has been sanitized, in many cases even lost. So from a justice point of view, I believe it's really important that traditional and indigenous culture is not only respected, but celebrated. Urbanization has also led to a movement away from traditional and indigenous practices as people begin to adopt a more westernized way of life. And this is extremely unfortunate because I believe culture plays a big part in one's identity and sense of self, and how we choose to eat, celebrate, mourn, and ultimately see ourselves in the world. It's also a growing understanding that diversity supports the emergence of more resilient solutions. Today, we are facing extremely complex challenges, such as youth unemployment, climate change, and economic collapse. And now more than ever, we need diverse groups to be working together to find innovative solutions. On the topic of creativity, Forbes magazine actually released an article recently citing that creativity is the #1 skill that young people need in the workforce in the future. And this is because robots and AI are developing exponentially. And the reality is that they are going to overtake many of our current jobs, such as accounting, law, medicine. But one area that robots are unable to compete in with humans is the area of creativity. With so many complex challenges, we need complex system thinkers that are able to develop innovative ideas through creative means. I remember when I was still in school that subjects like mathematics and sciences were placed on a higher hierarchical scale to subjects like art, music, and design. And in order to move with the times, our culture and education system needs to shift and transform to acknowledge the value and contribution of creativity. That is why I believe this discussion today is so important, and we need more global dialogues like this.
Wow, that's very interesting. And I also heard that you were the Y20 delegate in Italy last year from South Africa. Maybe you can share a little bit what's the best experience that you've done with the other Y20 delegates, and this might be very inspiring for other participants.
Yes. The Y20 summit last year was one of the most incredible experiences. I think the best thing that I took out of the experience, unfortunately, because of COVID-19, we were unable to be there physically as much as we all wanted to be. But despite that, by connecting virtually, we were still able to create really, really meaningful connections with people from all over the world that are passionate about the same things as us, passionate about making change. And so now I have friends all over the world. And that was definitely the best takeaway. And of course, learning about different people's cultures, different challenges that each country is facing, and then also the similarities. In fact, there were a lot of similarities between South Africa and Indonesia and other developing countries. So it was really, really great to have delegates from those countries to connect with and put our priorities forward in that platform.
Nice, great. So we have heard from both speakers, and I think we've learned a lot of things from G20 themes, G20 issue priorities in Indonesia this year, and also some great experiences from Hannah that has just mentioned about her story, about SAYID, about her activities in the Y20 summit. So before I give some questions to the speakers, because there have been some that have been collected, but I actually give any chance for you guys if you want to unmute yourself to speak up. while we're waiting for that, let's just start from one question. There is an interesting question here. Which field of cooperation should Indonesia-Africa be prioritized in order to strengthen the relationships? Anyone would like to start? Anthony or maybe Hannah?
I don't mind starting. I think
Okay.
I'm probably going to have quite a biased view on this topic, but I really do believe that climate change is the most pressing issue of our time, especially if we think about the future of our youth. So I believe that we should be building policy around climate change to ensure that we have a good future for our children. And Indonesia being mostly made up of islands, island countries are going to be most affected by climate change. So yeah, I think that's where I would place my priorities. But yeah, I'm interested to see what Anthony has to say.
Thank you, Hannah. And what's Anthony's view? What's your
Thanks.
thought?
Yeah, I think Hannah has summarized one of the main items from our side here, which is certainly climate change, which is an issue for everyone. But I think on the other side, we can all work together. We all know how polarized the world is today. And I think these people-to-people connections, and I think we should remember that Indonesia and Africa has worked together for a long time as part of the non-aligned movement, including the Bandung conference earlier, in promoting a more equitable and I would say world order in a sense. And I think that's where youth also has an even bigger role now, as social media and other items, I think, have greater power. And that's mostly for youth, right? Youths are the one who is online, are the ones with social media and are the future leaders. So I think empowering youth, working together on that for entrepreneurship, be it in education, but also health. I guess I'm biased to health too. And I think even with COVID now, it's even more so. There's certainly tons to work towards, I think, for both sides.
Cool, thank you. Oh, there's an interesting question on the chat box, and I think this is specifically to Anthony. Which African countries is the Overseas Indonesian Students Association Alliance operating? Maybe you can mention specifically in which African areas and how many countries in Africa that OISA already, chip in.
Sure. I think I will just share a bit. So in OISA, Africa and the Middle East is one region. So probably I would say in total, there's about 18 countries under that we're covered, including South Africa, as discussed earlier, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Yemen, Tunisia, Sudan, Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Algeria, UAE. So yeah, I probably might miss one or two, apologies. But yeah, essentially there's about 20 countries in that region we have chapters in, but hopefully we'll expand in future too.
Thank you. And I hope that answers the question about OISA's chambers in Africa and the Middle East part. There's another question. What kind of projects that can be strategic to include youth and women in the G20 countries? Like maybe you guys have any idea what kind of projects that should be included in the G20 countries from both youth and women, or even about the future skills, education, or, just have your say. Maybe Anthony first now.
Sure, happy to do that. I think women empowerment is certainly close to my heart as well. And I think we should all remember 50% of the world is women. And that if we leave women behind, we are all losing in the end. So I think just working towards giving everyone equal opportunities. So being equitable again, not meaning giving everyone the same thing, but giving an equitable opportunity to everyone. And I think it can start with small things. I mean, Indonesia, for example, from supporting women in opening their own businesses, so entrepreneurship, small, medium enterprises, I think that's one step, giving people support to help with managing their children. I think child support is another way, I think, that's evidence-based, which will support women to be more active in the workforce. From the youth side, I would say reskilling or preparing youth through education for the future, I think is the most important aspects. We all know many things such as IT, and also the critical thinking skills, I think, is also the important aspects that youth needs to be taught. And I think also tolerance, seeing that the world, again, is getting more globalized, but also divided. So building tolerance, including through these events, I think is another aspect that's strategic that we should all work towards.
Great. Hannah, your answer.
Sure. So in Africa, we still have quite an issue with female or women education. So unfortunately, in a lot of rural areas, women's education is not prioritized. And so what tends to happen is that boys will go, the sons will go to school and the girls will stay at home to cook, clean, and do the sort of domestic chores. And that needs to change. That is a huge task to take on, and I'm not entirely sure how to do it, but we have to focus on educating our young girls, because it really starts there. And once women are educated, they are empowered to be free from the chains of patriarchy and cultural expectations and make a real future for themselves. So yeah, that's something I think we really need to focus on in Africa.
Wow, we've got different answers or different perspective in this moment. So there generations right now, and also the women empowerment, but also, you know, putting the priorities to other social issues, not just about the gender, social patriarchy, but we are also focusing on how the development of those individuals with youth, with women and other minority groups, because like Hannah already mentioned earlier, that no one left behind, and we are not just taking care of the youth or women or children, but everyone is safe. Like that's how ideally that we are thinking right now. And there is an interesting question from the Co-Sherpa G20 Indonesia. So this question is for both of you. How to move creative youth for creating innovations just like in the industrial revolution era? So maybe it's kind of like how the capacity of young people to be creative when they create something, or they create innovation or invention, just like industrial era. Hannah would like to say first.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. So I think the place that I would start is education system. Yeah, so as I mentioned, that's that very small story about how, for me growing up, things like art, music, design, dance, those were not seen as sort of like legitimate subjects to do at school. And to change that culture and encourage young people and change the education system to prioritize subjects like that as well, because they are equally as important as maths and science. And we need to realize that. But I think it's going to take an entire transformation of our education system to ensure that that happens.
Nice. Anthony, do you have any ideas or even brilliant, innovative ideas on that end?
I mean, I'll start maybe with, it might seem a bit philosophical, but it's relating to what Hannah says earlier, which is,
that's fine.
I mean, it's very vague, but essentially creating a safe space for people, for you to work and fail. I think that's important, and that's often not provided to a lot of people. I mean, I would say for myself and many maybe here, we are privileged to get that opportunity maybe to fail and be able to do things again, but many don't have that. And I think providing an ecosystem and environment that supports that is one way to make people creative. Otherwise, youth will be very careful with what they do, as they know they can't go back and they can revert back if they fail. So making a safe space for people, but also giving the necessary resources for you to go in the many different fields. I think Hannah shared a lot regarding creativity for those who wants to be in the arts, but also those who wants to start something by giving seeds, but giving mentorship as well. I think mentorship is also one very important aspect of supporting youth and allowing them to meaningfully contribute, but be guided as well in their journey. So I think those two items, running more mentorship programs, running and changing probably again in schools and also in the work environment when possible, the mindset that when people start, they shouldn't be expected to have or to be all knowing, but they will fail, but then they will get up, they will do better, and they will grow. And I think that's very important to remember.
Great. If I may conclude, maybe that's like perseverance or high endurance, right? Like never give up. Whatever bad things happen and kind of like uncertainties happen during this pandemic, young people tend to be maybe so upset and very reactive whenever something changed or something different, something new. But that's how the process of creative youth matters, right? Like that's how the journey of the creative youth striving to an excellence or striving for better life, better situations. Sometimes young people just focus on the output, right? Like just straight away or go fast to the end of the goal, but somehow in the middle of the journey, we never expect something different, or some kind of like this pandemic, something unprecedented, and then we have to like slowly maybe stop and reflect to ourselves and then try to be adaptive and learn something new, have some distractions in a good way, or maybe learn something different that we've never experienced before. Okay, I'm giving you a challenge, guys. I'm daring you to raise your hand or unmute yourself, because we're still having plenty of time. If you guys want to say it directly, just raise your hand and you can unmute yourself, and you can directly interact with the speakers. I see the question from Budiman, or maybe Budiman would like to say directly. You can unmute yourself, Budiman. If not, I can read it. So Budiman asked how to ensure that no one left behind in the digital economy, especially those who are digitally illiterate. This is quite challenging questions, I would say. Maybe Anthony can give an example. In Indonesia, we have so many different characteristics of the people with almost 18,000 islands. And of course, every island has different maybe customs or even infrastructure. Maybe that's something that you can start.
Sure. I think, yeah, it's a very difficult question. I think, thank you for asking the Budiman. I think it's the golden question for many countries for sure. And as Gracia, you've mentioned, digital illiteracy, I think the main way as well to see it is what's the root cause. I think there's many different groups of people, and people are digitally illiterate for different reasons. Some might say when they're very elderly, then they might be digitally illiterate. Also, for those who don't have access to internet, where it's costly, it might be there, but it's not affordable, or there's just no electricity. I think that's the other aspect, which I think I've shared earlier, how we are trying to give a bit on that with solar panels and the sort. So there's many reasons for being digitally illiterate, but also because they're not taught in school. Because in school, they don't have access to internet, they don't have access to computer. So I think probably the lowest hanging fruit to start is from the youth again, I must say. That is to give those in school today the opportunity to learn how to use and basic digital skills, I think that's probably the lowest hanging fruit. But on the other hand, I think to support that as a society, it's important for us to design systems that are not only technological. I think technology is only a facilitator. It's still the humans behind it, the humans who think about it. And I think we should, for example, just a small example. So maybe in, I don't know, in South Africa, but in many countries, we do COVID check-ins now, right? With your phone. So I think we might wonder, how can someone without a phone check in? And it's an essential thing, right? You cannot enter otherwise. So one solution, for example, can be those who are not having a phone, they get a card. There's a QR code. The one who checks them in is the restaurant, is the shop owner. So the other side, those who can use digital technology, help those who can't. And those who can't still can get access through non-digital means. I think always keeping that in mind, I think is one way, at this point, at least until we have the resources and the time as well. Things take time to teach most people the basic digital skills.
Wow, that's a lot of answers. But maybe let's hear from different side of Africa right now, from Hannah.
Oh, thank you, Anthony. That was really insightful, and I really appreciate you saying that we must also remember the humanness, because yeah, with COVID-19, almost everything has become online, virtual, and yeah, although it's amazing because we're able to easily connect with each other all around the world, I think it's really important to make sure that we still connect physically with one another, because it is very different. Yeah, in South Africa, we a lot of young people might end up in university and find themselves, you know, touching a computer for the first time. I remember in my first year of university, we had to do a mandatory sort of computer subject, and being quite blown away by the fact that a lot of my friends did not know how to use PowerPoint or Word, quite basic computer systems. And it made me realize, well, there is a huge problem that we have in our country. And I think that is because, unfortunately, a lot of our schools are underfunded and do not have the funds to buy the equipment. But as well as that, many people do not have access to computers or cell phones at home. In South Africa, we also have some of the highest data rates in the world. So I know from working with youth and running events that we often have to reimburse youth to attend these kinds of events, with reimburse them with data, because it is so expensive in South Africa, and that really, really needs to change. Yeah, so I think we need to start young and really invest in that infrastructure, because by the time people reach university, I think it's too late. They're already too far behind, you know. Yeah.
Wow. Now we've got like much more comprehensive answers based on different conditions from Indonesia and also from Africa. Okay. Actually, there is another interactive session that I would like to challenge to you all right now, as we have got so many answers and questions. Now it's time for you to do the polling. So I will give you the link and also the number. So if you go to the menti.com and use the code 9998045, and there will be one question there. And the question is, if you are a young person or whoever you would like to be, which creativity would you have as the priority, like number 1, and then number 2, number 3, and number 4? Because in that question, there are 4 options that you can rank. So either you think to be creative means to be adaptive, or creativity means you have to be innovative, create invention, or you can be a different person to have unique characteristics, or you have talents that you can show. then you can perform with your talents. Now I will share you the result so far, but I'm still waiting for other persons to do voting so that we can see how many people here doing answers to the adaptive or innovative or different or talented. I'm still waiting for other people. Now I see just 5 people joining the polling already, and it's getting increasing right now. I will wait for a couple of minutes to see the different ranks of this polling. So guys, please participate this polling. At least you don't have to speak up right now. Just go to the menti.com with the certain number that I gave you to the chat box, 999804755, and then you can answer one question: which creativity would you have? And do the ranking. Either you put number 1 adaptive, or you put number 1 innovative, or you want to be different, or just focus on the talent. Or got almost 12 first, maybe another 5 people joining the poll. So far we can see here, number 1 is being adaptive, like that's the most favorite answer, or that's the big reason. To and be talented with the same
Okay, it seems like we have lost Gracia, but as we continue to... Gracia is still there?
Yeah. Sorry.
No worries, go back.
Shall we continue the polling? So right now, I see this, the biggest number is still, the top 2 are be innovative and be adaptive. So maybe some of you would like to say something. This is your time right now to share. Why do you choose innovative, or why do you choose to be adaptive as the first priority to show your creativity? Anyone would like to give reasons, or do you think being innovative or being adaptive are very important to the creativity? Maybe I can ask Anthony and Hannah to help me choose somebody here. Or maybe you guys can write down the answer why you choose be adaptive in the chat box. That should be fine. While we're waiting for that, I can see another question here coming up, and it's from Farouk. So question from Farouk to Hannah and Anthony. What are things the youth generation can do in order to participate in the nation? Anthony, would like to say first?
Sure. I think, again, it's meaningful youth participation. I think is in everything that we both do, certainly in OISA and also SAYID, I'm sure. And to do that, I think there's many ways. Certainly one is through engaging the policymakers. I think certainly that's one path towards creating change, through policy change, but also through small things that we can do. I think we can do micro stuff at the ground, helping people in the rural areas, teaching people English, for example, for us in Indonesia, because English is not our first language, but as we all know, it's the global language. So those small things, I think, is something in which we can participate to progress the nation. So big things through policy, but also smaller things. But also, I guess one other thing is partnering. I think working together with youth organizations, but also others from our seniors, I think is also one way in which we can influence change in a positive way, being constructive and restored. Provided, though, I must say as well, on the other hand, we do hope that our seniors, our other groups, I guess, including the government, is always open. I guess we do hope, and I think they are open to youth being meaningfully influencing decisions which affects us in the future.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for the answer, Anthony. And then Hannah?
Yeah, I would say from my own perspective to be fearless and go for what you want. Yeah, I mean, I was saying to someone last night, I was telling them about this event and they said, aren't you nervous? And I was like, yeah, but you know, I've been doing this so many times that it's okay now. 2 years ago, I would have been so scared to do this. So you have to start somewhere, and to go back to what Anthony said earlier, to be okay with failing. We are so young. You know, we're going to stutter and make mistakes and maybe embarrass ourselves, but we're so young that it doesn't matter. And if we don't start now, then when will we start? So I'm really glad that I've stepped out and gone for things that I want to, because now I have the confidence to take on larger things at a younger age, you know, and everybody has the capacity to do that. I mean, I was always the kid that got scared to do presentations at school. I would pretend to be sick. So if I can do it, really anybody can do it. Yeah, and then also to know what your passion is, and that can take time, but just from my experience working in this field, it can be sometimes quite emotionally taxing. We're living in a very crazy world with so many complex challenges that it can be really overwhelming, and we also have to care for our mental health. But if you are in a field that you really love and that you feel that you would die for, then it makes the work a lot easier. So don't settle for a field or an industry that you don't like. If you don't like it, change it. We're young, we have the time. So yeah, those would be my 2 recommendations.
Thank you, Hannah. I think I can get 2 points as a conclusion from Hannah's answer. Like, be brave. It's okay to have some failures and do it again, try it again, and then explore anything. I think that's very important as a young person or young generations, because, you know, maybe we can say the process or the journey are still long to go, and we still have plenty of chances to, you know, try something different, try something new, or even get some feedback from the mentors or from our friends, from our parents perhaps, or the family supporting system, as you mentioned as well about the mental health. So I think supporting system is also very, you know, paramount factor, number 1 that we have to take care of. Okay, this is the conclusion, I mean the closing question, and I think this is the right time to you both to share or promote your social media and how young people here, these participants here, can stay engaged, stay connected with either OISA or SAYID, as the Miaza already asked about her questions, like how could you empower or engage the youth in our community with the resources at hand. So I think this is a very strategic moment for you both to also promote the social media or any website or any information that might be very helpful for them. Please, Anthony.
Sure, I can start. Yeah, I will share our social media in the chat for sure. It's just ppi.id, very short and sweet, and or PPI Dunia. Again, we'll share it, and our Twitter as well later on. But yes, answering Mia's question, I think that's one way which you can do. I think we all have our phones, and we all can do a lot with our phones these days, you know, with our fingers. But also think about what you post. I think that's my other take on that as well. But on the other thing, I think we should think local as well. We like to think global all the time, but also think local. What can you help in your area? I'm not sure where you're from, but for example, you can help those in the shelter nearby, help those homeless, help those people online, help with mental health. I think that's one thing I'm doing. I must say, so I'm away, I'm in Australia, as mentioned earlier, but I'm working with other volunteers now to run a program to support mental health of those in Indonesia. And with internet, I think these days it's possible, right? So those are small things which are not very resource intensive, but which you can do. So think local, think from your school, think from your neighborhood, and also use social media. I think those are probably the lowest hanging fruits again, which you can do.
And Hannah, just share your thoughts briefly.
Sure. So I think that we, especially our generation, we're so used to being active online that we forget that we need to also do work on the ground. So for example, during the COVID-19 lockdown, when that all first happened, I moved back into my hometown. I wasn't able to go to university and I had so much free time. And I connected with the organization in my community, and that led to me starting my nonprofit education program for teenagers and children. And I had no idea what I was doing really, but I just went for it. And I think that's the approach that you have to take, is see a need in your community and go for it. Do not be afraid because you're too young or you're not experienced enough. None of us are ever going to be experienced enough. You learn as you go. So yeah, do not be afraid to be active in your own community.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you so much, Hannah. I think we have learned a lot from this talk show or this session. I don't want to talk longer anymore. Just 2 points. I think be a creative youth should be adaptive with the innovations and also be brave to explore anything. So now over to Nifuho, to the MC, as we will have a lot of performances afterwards.
Thank you, Gracia and Anthony.
Thank you, Gracia. Thanks, Hannah.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gracia and Hannah and Anthony, for such an entertainment type of section that we had. Really quite a lot of thought-provoking answers as well, and at the same time giving directions on what can be done going further with the knowledge and the skills that we have as young people, and the room that we have of making mistakes and still continuing to do what we can to help our communities and be out there and all that. So now I think, Gracia, the second element that we're going to have, or not second, but the element that is following now, it's actually the Y20 Awards 2022 publication video, which is going to be shared, I think, by Josephine, if I'm not mistaken. So do we have that ready? We can play the Y20 Awards 2022 for the audience. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So that's an opportunity for you guys to participate on. I think, Gracia, do you want to elaborate a little bit more about the Y20 Award for a second?
Yeah, thank you, Nifuho. Just a very brief additions. So basically, Y20 Awards are recognition or appreciation for young people around the world, not just G20 countries. Everyone can join and participate. And there are two categories: youth individual leader and also youth groups. You can check on our website, y20-indonesia.org. I can type on the chat box later on and just explore, go through the website to know about the requirements. And the deadline will be on the 20th of February. So you still have plenty of time to prepare and just apply and submit, and good luck. And next, as you can see as well here, so there is also an interesting like 101 about G20, or we call it G20 Pedia. So you can go to the link as you just see it, link, that's the link, linktr.ee/G20 Pedia. There are two languages there, Indonesian language and English. So you can choose whichever you're comfortable with, and it can be downloaded. You can just download the book, the reference, or you just read it online. So feel free to explore there. And again, if you guys have any ideas or any contribution that you would like to support the G20 Indonesia Presidency 2022, feel free to go to the website g20.org. You can see a lot of types of activities there for the youth 20, or for the women 20, for the business 20, civil society or C20, labor L20, think tank group T20, science 20 for those who are very interested in science. And we also have urban 20 for those people who are interested in the urban cities, or SAYID 20, that's the new one, Supreme Auditing Institution 20, and Parliament 20. Those are already included into that G20 Pedia. So don't forget to download it or read it online, and enjoy reading the G20 Pedia. Thank you.
Thank you, Gracia. So now you all know about the alphabet 20, all of them. So you can participate in each and every one of them, depending on what your passion is all about. And then you can participate in one of them. So without wasting much time, because we're only left with a couple of minutes, I would like us to go to the next item, as I promised earlier on when we played the South African, or the African cultural aspect. So now we're gonna go to play the Indonesian cultural aspect, which I have to give a little background so that you can understand what is happening in the video. So what happens is that this is a cultural presentation from Indonesia. It was recorded as part of the partnership between the AOISA, which is the Overseas Indonesian Student Association, and then also the Indonesian Foreign Ministry and other government bodies as part of the 2021 Angklung, I hope I'm saying it right, Angklung Day celebration, which broke a national record. And Angklung is a traditional instrument made from bamboo and usually played as part of an assembly, and it is recognized by UNESCO, or this was recognized by UNESCO in 2010 as a masterpiece of the oral and intangible heritage humanity. So the title of the song is Indonesia Pusaka, a patriotic song describing Indonesian heritage and played in most state events. So enjoy, guys. Beautiful. This is really beautiful. Thank you very much for bringing this up. I'm a cultural fan already of Indonesia, so I hope the G20 presidents will, with COVID, people will be able to go to Indonesia and then get to experience more of this kind of stuff. Without wasting much time, so the next item on our program is closing remarks by Dr. Eddie. Just to give you a little background on what Dr. Eddie is going to be talking about, he will touch on the creative role of youth through the G20, especially pertaining to the Indonesia presidency. So a little background about Dr. Eddie. Dr. Eddie Pambudi was appointed by the Deputy Minister of, he was the Deputy Minister, or he is the Deputy Minister for Coordination of International Economic Cooperation at the Coordinating Ministry of Economic Affairs, based on the presidential decree of the Republic of Indonesia in 2021. And Dr. Eddie was assigned as the Co-Sherpa of G20 Indonesia and daily coordinator for Sherpa Track for the Indonesia G20 Presidency in 2022, based on the presidential decree of the Republic of Indonesia. So without wasting much time, Dr. Eddie, the screen is yours.
Thank you, the moderators. His Excellency Ambassador Al-Bushra Basnur, dear Mas Farouk, Difuho, Anthony, Hannah, colleagues, best friends, and also Mbak Gracia, one of the G20 influencers. As a former youth and students, I'm truly delightful and appreciate to be invited and conclude this event. I saw the video presented at the beginning, make me miss Table Mountain, waterfronts, Stellenbosch, and Cape Towns. One word I still strongly remember, Hannah, is lekker, because many delicious food there. Allow me to wear a traditional apparel to represent a symbol of local wisdom, inspiring G20 Indonesia. Mainly the logo of G20 is a mountain in wayang, Japanese puppet, played by one called Dalang, wearing apparel like me. So story behind theme song of the G20, why there are children's. This is represent the future, and they even had not known each other before playing music and meeting at the studio. And orchestra also represent collaboration, and they play in the forest because we give a message of caring environment and climate. So in general, if you are care about environment now together around the world, then we also care about the next generation, especially children. This is an example of creativity to bring G20 to the ground. G20 Sherpa also play angklung in the first meeting in Jakarta last month. They also could play in a harmony only in a minute. So we are currently in the third year of pandemic, and everyone is waiting for the return to normal and unlimited interaction. Viruses are still around us with unpredictable conclusion, but humans are given the ability to adapt and build stronger stamina, just like the major voters on our survey being adaptive. Similar to the G20, this is a forum for building collective ideas, reaching consensus through deliberation and sharing experiences. Since a long time, this forum has only produced concepts on paper, and only a small number of ideas have been translated into action. The most awaited change in the G20 is turning the narrative into the parade of action, building collective action all over the place for more harmonious and better world, collaborating regardless of limitation, reducing imbalances, and coming together to become stronger. Africa and Indonesia have had a long history of friendship. We once together voiced independence as a nation and as non-aligned bloc in 1955 in Bandung, Indonesia. The conference will always be remembered as a history of our struggle for togetherness. Indonesia will always view Africa as a nation that is rich in culture, natural resources, and other great potential. For that, we must continue to cultivate our relation as a like-minded friendship in every generation. Many think that creativity is born genetically, meaning that creativity is only due to talent. Creativity is actually born from forging problem. As Anthony mentioned, always learn from mistake to success. Creativity is enhanced by being used to finding solution to problem in different ways. So no worries if all of you face many problems, meaning you are trained to be creative. This is known as being innovative, as also Hannah said. Creativity is the ability to see opportunities, the competence to provide value that are not generally true of. One of the keys to training yourself to be creative is to be responsive to each make difficult things, help other people difficulties by offering easy and bold ways to display uniquely interesting things. In addition, creativity always arises with a desire for change. Youth is the engine of world change, driving innovation and breakthrough. As Ambassador said, youth always provide dynamics in many things that run statically so that they become more unique, interesting, easily accepted by the public. Therefore, creative youth is a combination of energy, sources of change that will be eagerly awaited by the society and global environment. Ideas born from youth creativity parallel the demands of changing times because youth are the quickest to see change. We want Indonesian G20 to be pleasant and entertaining event, as well as to initiate various new breakthroughs for the world in all issues that are currently become a global concern, such as health, digital transformation, and energy transitions, which are essential to tackle climate change. G20 is not only a club of 19 countries and one union, but it must work and share benefit for developing countries, LDCs, small island countries. It must tackle unbalances around the world. We embrace social capital, including youth around the world, to move together to make breakthroughs and create a parade of action that inspire changes in the world to become more peaceful and mutually supportive. This pandemic is a wake-up call for all us. Nothing should be left behind. All will recover if everyone of us recover. We also want Indonesian G20 not just produce a concept, but a collaborative action movement that takes place in various places and is beneficial for all the world, such as building a world ecosystem that is disability-friendly and pro-youth. This is the economic power of concept that we offer in the G20 Indonesia. One of creativity that we create in G20 is to bring important messages and main issues in the lyrics of the theme song to make it easier to understand. The idea of the G20 is to bring the world back together and become stronger. Without youth involvement, G20 may not be dynamic. So please, youth empower as cross-cutting issues in Indonesia G20, meaning youth must learn many critical issues. Togetherness will create strength. Philosophy in Indonesia cultures we call gotong royong, or mutual cooperation. This is also a strong message mentioned by Ambassador Al-Bushra. Hence, we invite youth around the world to work together to make breakthroughs, measure innovation, and changes that are creative and beneficial. Through G20 this year, let us together show and move that the creative youth are the agent of world change. We are together, we will be stronger. Thank you.
I'm clapping, I forgot to unmute myself because of excitement. Thank you very much, Dr. Eddie. And we are really looking forward to working with you going forward in this G20 presidency. And there will be a lot of knocks on your door from the youth perspective because you have opened the door already now. So that's a great opportunity for us to work with you going forward. So we are already 1 minute past the time that we're supposed to finish the program. So I would love to conclude by asking everyone now to have their cameras on so that we can take a picture to remember this moment for African Indonesia. And please, everybody, switch on your camera if you can, and then Josephine will do the honor of taking the picture. So I'll do a countdown, and then after that, I will come back and conclude our program. 3, 2, 1, smile. You got everyone, Josephine? The second one, okay.
This iPad is no one opening the camera, so it's okay. It's done.
Okay, again, let's try again. Everybody switch on the cameras if you can. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay.
Okay, it's done.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, thank you everybody for being here. I mean, it's a Saturday after all. You could have chosen to be anywhere, but you decided to be here with us, and we really appreciate your time. And it was really interesting. And we have to thank the organizers, of course, the technical team. I mean, Josephine, to be specific, you did a great job, really amazing. And everybody who made this day possible, Ambassador L, Dr. Eddie, Chido, Hannah, Anthony, much appreciated. And of course, my co-moderator, Gracia. And we will see you guys in the next Indonesia-Africa Youth event. Stay healthy and have a good day. Bye-bye. Or if having a good night in Indonesia, bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.